They thought you were weak. They thought you would never rise. They thought their manipulation, their lies, and their cruelty would break you down into silence. But what narcissists never expect is that one day, the person they underestimated becomes the very force that shatters their illusion of power. What makes a narcissist regret everything is not screaming, not fighting, not even begging for accountability. It is the unstoppable transformation of the person they tried to destroy. That person is you. You see, narcissists feed on control, on admiration, on the belief that they can live rent-free in your mind forever. They thrive on the narrative that they are superior and you are dependent. But here is the truth. Their greatest regret will never come from your words. It will come from your growth. It will come from your success. It will come from the moment you no longer play the role they assigned you. Their regret will bloom when you reclaim your story. And that right here, right now, is exactly what this speech will give you. The roadmap to making a narcissist regret everything they ever did to you. Silence is one of the most powerful weapons you can use against a narcissist. And it is not the kind of silence that comes from fear, suppression, or defeat. It is the silence of strength, the silence of no longer playing their game, the silence that strips them of the very fuel they crave. Narcissists thrive on reactions. They need your anger, your tears, your explanations, even your attempts to reason with them, because all of it validates their sense of control. Every time you argue back, every time you beg for clarity, every time you try to make them understand, you unknowingly give them what they want: the spotlight, the chaos, and the energy they use to feed their fragile ego. That is why silence cuts deeper than any words you could ever speak, because silence communicates one undeniable truth. They no longer matter enough to get a reaction from you. When you choose silence, you are no longer playing into the trap they set for you. Narcissists design situations to provoke you. They will lie, twist the truth, project their flaws onto you, and create confusion just to watch you spin in circles trying to defend yourself. They want you entangled in their web, because the more you react, the more control they hold. But when you stop responding, when you stop giving energy to their provocations, you rob them of their favorite weapon. You starve them of the fuel they cannot live without. At first, this silence will drive them wild because it shakes the very foundation of their power. They may escalate, try harder, push more buttons, or even act kinder for a short while to lure you back in. But if you hold your silence with strength, eventually they will be forced to face the emptiness of their tactics. The beauty of silence is that it is not passive, it is active power. It is you saying without words, I no longer allow you to dictate my emotions. It is you taking back ownership of your peace, your mind, and your energy. Narcissists hate silence because it forces them to confront the one thing they fear most: their own insignificance. When you do not react, they are left alone with their own emptiness, and that void is unbearable for them. Silence exposes their lack of control, and in that exposure, regret begins to take root. By embracing silence, you are not suppressing your voice, but rather choosing where and how to use it. You are no longer wasting your words on ears that will never listen or hearts that will never care. Instead, you reserve your energy for yourself, for your healing, for your growth, and for the people who truly deserve it. The silence that once may have felt like defeat transforms into dignity. It becomes a declaration that you are no longer accessible to manipulation. It tells the narcissist, without explanation, that their reign is over. They can no longer count on your reactions to fuel their ego. And that realization creates a level of regret far greater than any confrontation ever could. Boundaries are the very thing that dismantle a narcissist's illusion of control because They are built on the principle that you no longer exist to serve their every demand. For a narcissist, boundaries are not just lines you draw. They are acts of rebellion because they believe they are entitled to access every part of you, your time, your emotions, your energy, your forgiveness, and even your identity. They are used to pushing limits, crossing lines, and manipulating your willingness to bend until you break. That is why when you finally hold firm and enforce boundaries, you deliver a shock to their system. You communicate that they do not have unrestricted power over you, and that is something they cannot stand. Every time you say no to something unreasonable, every time you refuse to explain yourself when you owe no explanation, and every time you walk away from their attempts to bait you, you are reclaiming your authority over your own life. Narcissists thrive on control, and boundaries tell them they no longer have it. At first, they will resist, they will test, and they will try to manipulate you into feeling guilty for protecting yourself. They may accuse you of being selfish, cold, or uncaring because those accusations are meant to break down your resolve. But when you remain consistent, when you hold your boundaries with unshakable conviction, you teach them a painful lesson. You are no longer someone they can dominate. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut the world out. They are gates that decide what and who gets access to you. For too long, the narcissist assumed they had the keys to your life, and you went along with it because you were conditioned to believe that keeping them happy was the only way to survive. But boundaries shift that dynamic entirely. They show that your happiness, your peace, and your well-being matter more than appeasing their ego. They reveal that you have chosen to prioritize your self-respect over their approval. And nothing makes a narcissist regret their actions more than realizing that they no longer hold the position of authority they once did. The power of boundaries is that they not only protect you from further harm, but also expose the truth about the narcissist. When they can no longer manipulate you with guilt or fear, their mask begins to slip. Their attempts at control become more obvious, their desperation more transparent, and in that unraveling, they are forced to face the fact that their old tactics no longer work. That realization plants the seed of regret because they begin to understand that their grip on you is gone for good. Holding boundaries is not easy, especially when you have been trained to doubt yourself, but it is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can give yourself, and it is one of the strongest blows you can deliver to a narcissist's fragile ego. Because every boundary you enforce is a reminder that they miscalculated, that they underestimated you, and that the person they thought they could control forever has become untouchable. That is how boundaries make them regret everything. They prove that their power was always an illusion, and now it no longer exists. Success is the one thing that terrifies a narcissist the most because it proves their greatest fear, that you never needed them in the first place. Narcissists condition you to believe that without their presence, without their validation, and without their guidance, you would fall apart. They project the illusion that they are your anchor, your protector, the only one who truly knows what's best for you. But the moment you begin to succeed on your own terms, in your own way, that illusion collapses, and they are forced to face a bitter truth. They were never your savior. They were only your obstacle. When you thrive in areas of your life they tried to control, it cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. Every achievement you make, every milestone you reach, and every dream you bring to life outside of their influence is a silent but powerful declaration of independence. It says, "You were wrong about me." Success becomes a mirror that reflects their failure to keep you small. And because their ego depends on being the center of your world, watching you grow beyond them fills them with regret they can never admit out loud. This success does not always mean material wealth or external recognition, though those things certainly expose their lives. It also means emotional success, reclaiming your confidence, learning to trust yourself again, and building relationships that are healthy and supportive. It means creating joy in the everyday moments they once robbed from you. It means laughing freely, healing deeply, and waking up every morning with peace in your heart. To a narcissist, this kind of happiness is unbearable because it reminds them of the joy they tried so hard to crush. The reason success makes a narcissist regret everything is because it takes away their favorite narrative, that you are broken without them. They may never tell you, but narcissists often watch from a distance. They check, they lurk, they listen, because their ego cannot stand not knowing what became of you. And when they see you rising, when they see you smiling, when they see you thriving in ways they swore you never could, it gnaws at them. They may disguise it with bitterness, dismiss it with envy, or try to sabotage it with backhanded comments. But underneath it all, regret is boiling. Success is also the ultimate revenge because it doesn't require you to fight them directly. You don't have to prove them wrong to their face. You simply live a life so full and so unapologetically your own that it becomes undeniable. Every step you take forward is proof that they underestimated you. Every victory you claim is proof that they misjudged your strength. And every smile you wear is proof that they lost something priceless. That is why success is not just personal growth, it is the deepest regret you can plant in the heart of a narcissist. Because nothing terrifies them more than watching you live a life they can no longer control. Peace is the ultimate weapon against a narcissist because it represents the one thing they cannot take from you and the one thing they can never truly experience themselves. Narcissists thrive on chaos, on keeping you unsettled, on ensuring that you are constantly reacting to their manipulation. They rely on conflict as fuel, and they need to know that they can disrupt your emotional balance whenever they choose. That is why peace is so devastating to them, because it means their power no longer works. When you reach the point where their words no longer cut, their absence no longer terrifies you, and their games no longer draw you in, you have stepped into a space of strength that they cannot touch. Peace is not about ignoring reality or pretending that what they did didn't hurt. Peace comes from healing. It comes from facing the wounds they left behind and choosing not to let those wounds define you anymore. It comes from deciding that your mental clarity, your emotional stability, and your happiness matter more than the endless cycle of proving, defending, or explaining yourself to someone who never cared to understand. That kind of peace is louder than shouting, sharper than confrontation, and more powerful than revenge because it silently communicates that their chaos is irrelevant to your life. A narcissist feeds off the belief that you will never escape the storm they create. They want to keep you trapped in arguments, spirals of self-doubt, and cycles of confusion. But when you step out of the storm and find calm within yourself, they are left standing alone in the drama they created. Nothing is more haunting to them than realizing you are no longer available for their games. Your peace reflects back to them their failure to break you. It reminds them that all their manipulation, all their cruelty, all their attempts to control did not succeed in stealing your spirit. That realization is regret disguised as anger, envy, or desperation. The beauty of peace is that it protects you even when they try to return. Narcissists often come back, whether through fake apologies, sudden messages, or desperate attempts to pull you into old patterns. But when you are grounded in peace, their words no longer hook you, their promises no longer entice you, and their threats no longer scare you. You see through the mask, and instead of reacting, you simply remain calm. That calmness is a wall they cannot penetrate, and every failed attempt to shake you fuels their regret. Peace is also contagious. It spills into every area of your life. When you stop carrying their chaos, you make space for joy, for love, for growth, for the things they told you you'd never find without them. And as you live in that peace, building a life they cannot reach, you force them to confront what they lost. They will never admit it, but your serenity becomes their torment. While they continue to live in restlessness and emptiness, you stand unbothered, grounded, and free, and that is the deepest regret they will ever face. Reclaiming your identity is one of the most powerful steps in making a narcissist regret everything because their entire strategy depends on stripping you of who you are. Narcissists work slowly, piece by piece, to erase the parts of you that shine too brightly or threaten their sense of superiority. They belittle your passions, mock your dreams, and twist your confidence until you begin to second guess your own worth. They want you to forget your strengths so you become easier to mold into someone who serves their needs. But when you begin the journey of rediscovering yourself, when you remember who you were before their influence and step into who you are meant to become, you shatter their illusion of control. Nothing unsettles them more than realizing that the very person they tried to erase has come back stronger than ever. Reclaiming identity starts with small steps. It may be revisiting hobbies you once loved, connecting with people who genuinely support you, or even just allowing yourself to dream again. These little acts of self-discovery are powerful because they send a clear message. You are no longer defined by their narrative. Every time you embrace a piece of yourself they tried to suppress, you reclaim territory they once believed belonged to them. This independence is not only liberating for you, but devastating for them because it undermines their belief that they could permanently control your self-image. A narcissist regrets losing control most when they see you stepping back into your authenticity. They know that once you reconnect with your identity, their influence over you diminishes. Your confidence becomes harder to shake, your decisions become rooted in self-respect, and your vision for your life no longer revolves around their approval. This kind of strength terrifies them because it exposes the truth that they were never as powerful as they believed. They relied on your self-doubt as their greatest weapon, and when that self-doubt is replaced with self-assurance, regret begins to creep in like a shadow they cannot escape. Reclaiming your identity also means rewriting your story. For so long, they may have convinced you that you were too sensitive, too difficult, or not enough. But when you redefine yourself on your own terms, you dismantle those lies. You begin to see yourself not as their victim, but as your own hero. That transformation is something a narcissist can never take credit for, and it forces them to face the reality that all of their manipulation only pushed you closer to becoming the person they tried to bury. This process doesn't just protect you from them in the present, it ensures they cannot repeat their cycle in your future. By standing firmly in your reclaimed identity, you attract healthier relationships, pursue your true passions, and live in alignment with your authentic self. And as you do, the narcissist is left with nothing but the knowledge that their attempts to erase you failed completely. That is a regret they will carry silently, because while they tried to destroy your sense of self, all they really did was make your rediscovery even more powerful. Your transformation speaks louder than any form of revenge, because it is undeniable proof that the narcissist did not win. They thrive on the belief that the pain they caused will define you forever, that their cruelty has left scars too deep to heal, and that you will remain trapped in the cycle they created. But when you transform, when you rise from the ashes of what they tried to destroy, your very existence becomes a statement that invalidates everything they wanted you to believe. It is not your words or arguments that make them regret what they did. It is the reality that you are thriving despite them. That kind of transformation is something they cannot twist, cannot erase, and cannot control. Transformation does not mean pretending the past never happened. It means taking the wounds, the lessons, and the pain they inflicted and turning them into fuel for growth. Every time you choose to heal, every time you choose to love yourself more deeply, every time you pursue the life you deserve, you are proving that their attempts to break you only made you stronger. This is where regret is born because narcissists count on the idea that without their influence, you would collapse. When you prove the opposite, they are left facing a mirror that reflects not their superiority, but their failure. The power of transformation lies in its permanence. Words can be ignored, explanations can be dismissed, but your growth is undeniable. When you carry yourself with confidence, when you build a life filled with joy and purpose, when you no longer respond to their attempts to drag you back, they cannot escape the truth. The transformation forces them to see that the person they tried to keep small has outgrown them completely. They may try to downplay it, mock it, or act indifferent, but deep inside, regret eats away at them because they know they lost something they can never get back: your presence, your energy, your trust. What makes this regret so powerful is that it never ends. Transformation is not a single moment, but a continuous evolution. Each new achievement, each new chapter, each new expression of happiness reminds them of their failure. They thought they were the author of your story, but your transformation proves you are the one holding the pen. This is not about revenge in the traditional sense. It is about creating a life so fulfilling that their memory no longer has a place in it. The more you flourish, the more they are forced to confront the emptiness of their own lives. Your transformation is the loudest silence, the clearest message, and the greatest punishment a narcissist can ever face. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to make them acknowledge what they did, because your very being shows them the truth. You are stronger, happier, and freer than they've ever wanted you to be. And that undeniable reality is what makes them regret everything.